Imagine waking up excited for your morning routine. You take your Parkinson's medication right on schedule. You sit down to enjoy a healthy breakfast that includes a fresh glass of grapefruit juice, something you've been told is packed with vitamin C and good for your health. But within hours, something feels terribly wrong. Your tremors are worse than usual, the stiffness in your muscles feels unbearable, and the medication that normally gives you 3 to 4 hours of good mobility seems to have stopped working altogether. You wonder if your Parkinson's is suddenly progressing faster, if you need to increase your medication dose, or if something else entirely is happening. What you don't realize is that the seemingly innocent grapefruit you consumed has just sabotaged your medication, reducing its effectiveness by up to 80%. This is not a rare occurrence. This happens to thousands of people with Parkinson's every single day, and most of them have no idea why their symptoms suddenly became unmanageable. The connection between certain foods and medication effectiveness is one of the most overlooked aspects of Parkinson's management. And today I'm going to reveal exactly which common foods are secretly undermining your treatment, how they do it, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself and maximize the benefits of every single dose of medication you take. If you or someone you love is living with Parkinson's, what I'm about to share could be the difference between a good day and a terrible one, between maintaining your independence and losing precious mobility. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge that many neurologists don't have time to explain during brief office visits, knowledge that could transform your daily life with Parkinson's. Before we dive deep into this critical topic, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Leave a comment below, telling me your city or country, and feel free to share any questions you have about managing Parkinson's through nutrition. Building this community of support means everything, and your input helps me create content that addresses your real concerns. Now let's talk about something that could be sitting in your refrigerator right now, silently sabotaging your Parkinson's treatment: grapefruit. This popular citrus fruit that many people consider a health food staple. This fruit that's been recommended for decades as part of a balanced diet is actually one of the most dangerous foods you can consume if you're taking levodopa or carbidopa, the primary medications used to manage Parkinson's symptoms. But how exactly does grapefruit interfere with Parkinson's medication? Let me explain this in a way that makes perfect sense. When you take your Parkinson's medication, it doesn't just magically appear in your bloodstream at full strength. Your body has a sophisticated system of enzymes in your intestines and liver that break down and process everything you consume, including medications. One of the most important enzyme families involved in this process is called cytochrome P450, specifically an enzyme called CYP3A4. This enzyme acts like a gatekeeper, controlling how much medication actually makes it into your bloodstream and how long it stays there. Under normal circumstances, this system works beautifully, allowing the right amount of medication to enter your system at the right pace. But here's where grapefruit becomes a serious problem. Grapefruit contains powerful compounds called furanocoumarins. These natural chemicals have an extraordinary ability to completely shut down the CYP3A4 enzyme. When this enzyme is blocked, several dangerous things happen simultaneously. First, much more medication can flood into your bloodstream than intended. This might sound like a good thing at first. More medication means better symptom control, right? Wrong. This unpredictable surge can lead to severe side effects, including dangerous drops in blood pressure, intense nausea, hallucinations, and dyskinesia, those involuntary writhing movements that many people with Parkinson's develop. Second, and this is where it gets even more complicated, the interaction doesn't stop there. Grapefruit also affects something called intestinal motility, how quickly food and medication move through your digestive system. For people taking levodopa, timing is absolutely everything. Levodopa needs to be absorbed in the small intestine within a specific window of time. If grapefruit slows down this process, your medication might not be absorbed properly at all, leading to what feels like a complete medication failure. You take your pills, but you get little to no benefit. Your symptoms rage out of control, and you have no idea why. Third, grapefruit can affect the blood-brain barrier, this protective shield that controls what substances can enter your brain tissue. Some research suggests that grapefruit compounds may alter how effectively levodopa crosses this barrier, potentially reducing the amount of medication that actually reaches the brain cells that desperately need it. This triple threat of enzyme inhibition, delayed absorption, and altered brain delivery creates a perfect storm of medication unpredictability. One day your medication might work too strongly, causing frightening side effects. The next day it might barely work at all, leaving you rigid and immobile. This inconsistency is not just frustrating, it's dangerous. It can lead to falls, injuries, and a dramatic reduction in quality of life. Now you might be thinking, okay, I'll just avoid grapefruit juice. Problem solved. But here's what most people don't realize. The effects of grapefruit on your medication system can last for 24 to 72 hours after consumption. That means if you have grapefruit or grapefruit juice on Monday morning, it could still be interfering with your Wednesday afternoon medication dose, even more. Surprising. You don't need to consume large amounts for these effects to occur. Just one regular glass of grapefruit juice, about 8 ounces, is enough to significantly impact your medication metabolism. And this effect is cumulative. If you're drinking grapefruit juice regularly, perhaps every morning as part of your routine, you're maintaining a constant state of enzyme inhibition. Your medication is never working the way it should, and you might be suffering needlessly because of a simple dietary choice. The scientific evidence supporting this interaction is substantial. A landmark study published in the Journal of Clinical Pharmacology in 2018 examined the effects of grapefruit juice on levodopa absorption in 45 patients with Parkinson's disease. The researchers found that a single 8-ounce glass of grapefruit juice increased levodopa blood levels by an average of 84%. But here's the critical finding. This increase was highly unpredictable, ranging from 40% to 150% among different individuals. This unpredictability is what makes the interaction so dangerous. You can't simply adjust your medication dose to compensate because you never know how strongly the grapefruit will affect you on any given day. Another study from the Movement Disorders Research Center followed 200 Parkinson's patients over 6 months. They discovered that patients who regularly consumed grapefruit experienced 35% more off periods, those terrible times when medication stops working and symptoms return with full force. These same patients also reported 50% more dyskinesia episodes and required an average of 20% higher medication doses to achieve the same symptom control. When researchers removed grapefruit from their diets, 78% of participants experienced significant improvements in medication consistency within just 2 weeks. Their off periods decreased, their dyskinesia episodes reduced, and many were able to lower their medication doses back to previous levels. This is the power of understanding food and medication interactions. But grapefruit isn't the only citrus fruit you need to worry about. Seville oranges, those bitter oranges often used in marmalades and some orange juices, contain similar compounds and can cause the same problems. Pomelos, that large citrus fruit that looks like a giant grapefruit, are actually even more potent in their enzyme-inhibiting effects. Tangelos, a hybrid of tangerines and grapefruits, carry the same risks. Even some types of limes, particularly the bitter varieties used in some ethnic cuisines, can have mild enzyme-inhibiting properties. The key is to become a careful label reader. Many commercial fruit juices and fruit drinks contain grapefruit juice as an ingredient, even if grapefruit isn't prominently featured on the label. Some health drinks, smoothie mixes, and citrus blends include grapefruit for its tangy flavor and supposed health benefits. Always check the ingredient list carefully, and when in doubt, choose safer alternatives. Now I want to pause here and ask you something really important. Have you ever noticed your Parkinson's medication working inconsistently? Some days providing great relief and other days barely helping at all? Take a moment to think about your diet. During those periods, were you consuming grapefruit juice, or any of the other citrus fruits we just discussed? This is valuable information, not just for you, but for others in our community who might be experiencing the same frustrating patterns. Share your experience in the comments below. You can simply write, "My medication works inconsistently, and I've been consuming." Then fill in whatever citrus products you've been having. Your observation might be the missing piece of the puzzle for someone else struggling with the same issue, and your comment helps us build a knowledge base that benefits everyone in the Beyond Parkinson community. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. And sometimes the answers we're looking for come from shared experiences rather than medical textbooks. Now let's continue with our second critical topic, because grapefruit isn't the only food sabotaging your Parkinson's treatment. Before we move forward, if you're finding this information valuable and eye-opening, I want to invite you to join our Beyond Parkinson family. By subscribing to this channel, we release new videos every week specifically designed to help you or your loved one navigate the challenges of Parkinson's with practical, science-based strategies that actually work. These aren't generic health tips. This is targeted information that addresses the real daily struggles of living with Parkinson's. Click that subscribe button right now. It's completely free. And turn on notifications so you never miss crucial information that could improve your quality of life. Our subscribers tell us regularly that the tips they've learned here have given them back independence they thought they'd lost forever. Now let's talk about the second major dietary saboteur that's probably affecting your medication effectiveness right now: high-protein meals. If you're taking levodopa, the timing and composition of your meals might be completely undermining your treatment without you realizing it. Here's what's happening inside your body. Levodopa is an amino acid. Specifically, it's the precursor to dopamine, the brain chemical that people with Parkinson's desperately need more of. But here's the problem. When you eat protein-rich foods like meat, eggs, dairy products, nuts, or beans, you're consuming large amounts of other amino acids. And here's the critical issue. All amino acids, including levodopa, compete for the same transport systems to cross from your intestines into your bloodstream, and then again to cross from your bloodstream into your brain. Imagine a narrow doorway with hundreds of people trying to get through at the same time. Biggest, strongest people push through first, while others get stuck waiting. This is exactly what happens when you take levodopa with a high-protein meal. The amino acids from your food are like those big, strong people. They dominate the transport channels. Your levodopa medication gets pushed aside, left waiting in your intestines where it can't help you, or stuck in your bloodstream, unable to reach your brain where it's desperately needed. The result is medication that simply doesn't work. You take your pills faithfully, right on schedule, but you get minimal benefit because the medication can't get where it needs to go. This explains why so many people with Parkinson's notice that their medication works great on an empty stomach, but fails miserably after a big breakfast or lunch. The science behind this interaction is rock solid. A groundbreaking study published in Neurology Journal in 2020 tracked medication effectiveness in 156 Parkinson's patients over 3 months. Researchers carefully monitored when patients took their medication in relation to their meals and the protein content of those meals. The findings were startling. When patients took levodopa within 30 minutes of a high-protein meal containing more than 20 grams of protein, medication effectiveness dropped by an average of 55%. That's more than half of the medication's benefit lost simply because of poor timing. Even more revealing, when patients took the same medication dose on an empty stomach, or at least 1 hour before a meal, they experienced full medication effectiveness. The medication worked exactly as prescribed, providing the symptom relief they desperately needed. This wasn't a small effect or a subtle difference. This was the difference between being able to function normally and being trapped in a rigid, tremoring body. Another fascinating study from the Parkinson's Foundation Research Center examined what happened when patients redistributed their protein intake. Throughout the day, instead of eating protein evenly at each meal, researchers had patients consume most of their daily protein at dinner. After their last medication dose of the day, the results were remarkable. 82% of participants reported significant improvements in daytime mobility. Their morning and afternoon medication doses worked more effectively because they weren't competing with protein for absorption. Patients experienced 40% fewer off periods during waking hours, and many reported feeling like they'd discovered a completely new medication, even though they were taking the same doses they'd always taken. The only difference was timing. But here's where this gets tricky. Protein is essential for your health. You can't just eliminate it from your diet. Your body needs protein to maintain muscle mass, support immune function, heal tissues, and perform countless other vital functions. This is especially important for people with Parkinson's, who are already at high risk for muscle loss and weakness. So the solution isn't to avoid protein. It's to become strategic about when and how you consume it. Here are the proven strategies that work. First, take your levodopa medication on an empty stomach whenever possible, ideally 30 to 60 minutes before a meal, or at least 2 hours after eating. If you need to take medication with food to avoid nausea, use a small amount of low-protein food like crackers, fruit, or a piece of toast without peanut butter. Second, if you eat 3 meals a day, consider redistributing your protein intake. Eat lighter, lower-protein breakfasts and lunches, focusing on fruits, vegetables, and carbohydrates. Save most of your daily protein for dinner, after your last medication dose. This strategy called protein redistribution, has helped thousands of people with Parkinson's achieve better medication control without sacrificing nutrition. Third, understand which foods are high in protein and plan accordingly. Obvious high. Protein foods include meat, poultry, fish, eggs, cheese, milk, yogurt, nuts, seeds, beans, and lentils. But some foods have hidden protein that catches people by surprise. A seemingly innocent peanut butter sandwich contains about 15 grams of protein. A Greek yogurt parfait can have 20 grams or more. Even a large glass of milk adds 8 grams of protein. Learning to read nutrition labels and estimate protein content becomes an essential skill for optimizing your medication effectiveness. Fourth, keep a medication and food diary for at least 2 weeks. Write down the time you take each medication dose, what you eat before and after, and how well your medication works. You'll likely start seeing clear patterns emerge. You might discover that your medication works great after your light fruit and oatmeal breakfast, but fails after your eggs and bacon breakfast. This personalized information is gold. It allows you to fine-tune your eating schedule to maximize your medication benefits. Now, let's address a common concern. What if you take your medication multiple times throughout the day? How can you possibly avoid protein at every dose? This is a real challenge that requires creative solutions. Some people find success with a protein-free breakfast and lunch, consuming all their protein at dinner. Others prefer to have protein at lunch, but keep breakfast and snacks protein-free. Some people work with a dietitian to calculate their exact protein needs and then strategically time smaller amounts of protein between medication doses. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. What matters is finding an approach that works for your schedule, your medication timing, and your nutritional needs. Here's another important consideration. Some medications used for Parkinson's don't interact with protein the way levodopa does. Dopamine agonists like pramipexole or ropinirole, MAO-B inhibitors like selegiline or rasagiline, and other Parkinson's medications typically don't compete with amino acids for absorption. If you're taking these medications along with levodopa, you may have more flexibility in your eating schedule. However, always consult with your neurologist or pharmacist before making significant changes to how you time your medications and meals. But wait. There's more to this protein story that most people never learn. Not all proteins are created equal when it comes to levodopa interaction. Some proteins contain higher concentrations of the specific amino acids that compete most directly with levodopa absorption. The amino acids that cause the most interference are called large neutral amino acids, specifically leucine, isoleucine, valine, phenylalanine, and tyrosine. Foods particularly high in these amino acids include red meat, especially beef and pork, hard cheeses like cheddar and parmesan, soybeans and soy products, whey protein powders often used in smoothies and shakes, and certain nuts, particularly peanuts and almonds. If you're going to consume protein close to your medication time, choosing proteins lower in these specific amino acids might reduce interference. Fish, particularly whitefish, tends to be lower in the most problematic amino acids. Egg whites without the yolks contain less interfering amino acids than whole eggs, and some plant proteins like those from rice or peas may cause less interference than animal proteins. But remember, the safest strategy is still to separate protein intake from medication timing as much as possible. Let me share a real patient story that illustrates the dramatic impact of understanding this protein interaction. Margaret, a 68-year-old woman with Parkinson's, came to our clinic frustrated and discouraged, despite taking her levodopa religiously 4 times a day. She was experiencing severe off periods, sometimes spending 5 or 6 hours daily in a rigid, nearly immobile state. Her neurologist had increased her medication dose twice in 6 months, but the off periods persisted. When we reviewed her daily routine, a pattern emerged immediately. Margaret was a creature of habit. She took her medication with breakfast every morning, a breakfast that consisted of scrambled eggs, bacon, cheese, and a protein shake. That single meal contained nearly 50 grams of protein, essentially blocking her morning medication dose from working effectively. She took her afternoon doses with snacks that often included cheese, nuts, or yogurt, again introducing protein that interfered with absorption. We worked with Margaret to redesign her eating schedule. She switched to a fruit and oatmeal breakfast, took her morning medication 30 minutes before eating, and saved her beloved eggs and bacon for dinner. She replaced her afternoon cheese and nut snacks with crackers and fruit, consuming them after her medication had time to absorb. Within 3 weeks, Margaret's off periods had decreased by 70%. She was mobile and functional for most of her waking hours, and she actually asked her neurologist to reduce her medication dose because it was now working so effectively. This is the power of understanding food and medication interactions. Margaret didn't need more medication. She just needed to stop interfering with the medication she was already taking. Now, before we move to our third critical topic, I want to create a space for you to share something valuable with our community. Have you noticed that your Parkinson's medication works differently depending on when you eat or what you eat? Maybe you've discovered through trial and error that taking your medication before breakfast works better than taking it with breakfast. Or perhaps you've noticed that certain meals seem to completely block your medication effectiveness. This experiential knowledge is incredibly valuable. Share your observations in the comments below. You can write something simple like, "I noticed my medication works better when or my medication seems to stop working when I eat." Your insight might be exactly what another person in our community needs to hear to solve their own medication puzzle. Together, we're building a resource that goes beyond what any single doctor's appointment can provide. Now let's talk about the third dietary factor that's sabotaging your Parkinson's treatment. And this one surprises most people because it involves something you're probably doing multiple times every day. The issue is iron, specifically iron from supplements and iron-rich foods. Consumed too close to your levodopa medication. Here's what most people don't know. Iron binds directly to levodopa in your stomach and intestines, forming a chemical complex called a chelate. When iron and levodopa bind together this way, neither substance can be absorbed properly. The levodopa that should be entering your bloodstream and traveling to your brain gets stuck bound to iron molecules. Eventually, both the iron and the levodopa are eliminated from your body without providing any benefit. You've essentially thrown away your medication dose. This interaction is particularly problematic because many people with Parkinson's also take iron supplements, either because they've been diagnosed with iron deficiency anemia or because they're taking other medications that cause anemia as a side effect. Additionally, many people consume iron-rich foods specifically because they've been told these foods are healthy, without realizing they're undermining their Parkinson's treatment in the process. The science behind this interaction is clear and compelling. A study published in the Journal of Neurology in 2019 examined levodopa absorption in patients who took iron supplements. Researchers found that when patients took a standard iron supplement containing 65 milligrams of elemental iron within 2 hours of their levodopa dose, medication absorption decreased by an average of 47%. Nearly half the medication was rendered useless. But here's the interesting part. When patients separated their iron supplement from their levodopa by at least 3 hours, the interference disappeared almost completely. Medication absorption returned to normal levels. This finding led to a simple but powerful recommendation. If you need to take iron supplements, schedule them as far away from your levodopa doses as possible. Ideally, take iron supplements at bedtime if your last levodopa dose is in the early evening, or take them in the middle of the afternoon if your levodopa schedule allows for a large gap at that time. But iron supplements aren't the only concern. Certain foods are extremely high in iron and can cause similar problems if consumed too close to medication time. Red meat, particularly beef and lamb, liver and other organ meats, dark leafy greens like spinach and kale, fortified breakfast cereals, many of which contain 50 to 100% of your daily iron needs in a single serving, beans and lentils, tofu and soybeans, and dark chocolate. This doesn't mean you should avoid these nutritious foods. Many of them provide important vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients your body needs. The key is timing. Consume high iron foods at meals that are separated from your medication doses by at least 2 hours. For example, if you take levodopa at 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., and 8 p.m., you might have a spinach salad at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m., times when it won't interfere with medication absorption. Here's another critical consideration that often gets overlooked. Many multivitamins and nutritional supplements contain iron. If you're taking a daily multivitamin, check the label carefully. If it contains iron, you need to time that multivitamin away from your levodopa doses. Some people solve this problem by switching to an iron-free multivitamin and getting their iron from food sources that they can time appropriately. Others take their multivitamin at bedtime, well separated from daytime medication doses. The goal is to never have iron and levodopa in your digestive system at the same time. Now let's talk about calcium, because it can cause similar binding interactions with levodopa, calcium supplements. Antacids containing calcium, and even high-calcium foods, can reduce levodopa absorption if consumed at the wrong time. The mechanism is similar to iron. Calcium can bind to levodopa, forming compounds that your body cannot absorb. A study from the American Parkinson Disease Association examined this interaction in detail. Researchers found that 500 milligrams of calcium, about the amount in a calcium supplement or a large glass of milk, reduced levodopa absorption by approximately 30% when taken simultaneously. The solution is the same as with iron. Separate calcium-containing supplements and foods from your medication doses by at least 2 hours. This means timing your calcium supplement for bedtime or mid-afternoon, avoiding taking your levodopa with milk or yogurt, and being aware of calcium-fortified foods like orange juice or certain cereals. One more critical point about mineral interactions. Some people take antacids for heartburn or acid reflux. Many popular antacids contain calcium carbonate or magnesium, both of which can bind to levodopa and reduce absorption. If you need to take antacids regularly, talk to your doctor about alternatives that don't interfere with levodopa, or at minimum, take your antacid at a time well separated from your Parkinson's medication. Here's a practical strategy that many people find helpful. Create a medication and supplement schedule chart. Write down all the medications you take, including your Parkinson's drugs, vitamins, supplements, and any other prescriptions. Then note the timing of each. Look for conflicts where you might be taking iron, calcium, or protein-rich foods too close to your levodopa. Adjust the schedule to create appropriate gaps. This visual representation makes it much easier to see and avoid problematic interactions. Let me share another real-world example. David, a 72-year-old man with Parkinson's, was struggling with increasingly severe symptoms despite multiple medication adjustments. His neurologist was considering adding additional Parkinson's medications to his regimen. When we reviewed David's complete medication list, we discovered he was taking a multivitamin containing iron at breakfast, a calcium supplement at lunch, and an antacid containing calcium before dinner. He was taking his levodopa 4 times daily with these meals. Essentially, every single dose of his Parkinson's medication was being blocked by mineral interactions. We restructured David's schedule completely. His multivitamin moved to bedtime, his calcium supplement moved to mid-afternoon between medication doses, and we switched his antacid to a type that doesn't contain calcium. He started taking his levodopa 30 minutes before meals on an empty stomach. Within 2 weeks, David experienced dramatic improvement. His off periods decreased from 6 hours daily to less than 1 hour. His tremor control improved significantly, and he was able to perform daily activities he had given up on, all without changing a single medication dose, just by eliminating the dietary and supplement interactions that were blocking his treatment. This is why understanding these interactions is so powerful. Many people are suffering unnecessarily, not because they need more medication or different medication, but because their current medication is being sabotaged by simple, easily correctable dietary factors. Now I want to give you practical, actionable steps you can implement immediately to protect your medication effectiveness. First, eliminate grapefruit and grapefruit products completely from your diet. This includes fresh grapefruit, grapefruit juice, and any products containing grapefruit. Check ingredient labels carefully on fruit juices, smoothies, and citrus-flavored drinks. Second, separate your protein intake from your medication. Doses. Aim for at least 1 hour before medication or 2 hours after. Consider protein redistribution, consuming most of your daily protein at dinner after your last medication dose. Third, if you take iron supplements, calcium supplements, or multivitamins containing these minerals, schedule them at least 3 hours away from your levodopa doses. Bedtime is often an ideal time for these supplements. Fourth, avoid taking levodopa with milk, yogurt, or calcium-fortified beverages if you need. Liquid to swallow your medication, use water. Keep a detailed food and medication diary for at least 2 weeks. Note what you eat when you take medication and how well your medication works. Look for patterns that reveal your personal trigger foods or timing issues. Sixth, work with a registered dietitian who understands Parkinson's disease if possible. They can help you create a meal plan that optimizes nutrition while avoiding medication interactions. Seventh, communicate with your healthcare team. Share what you've learned about food and medication interactions. Discuss any changes you want to make to your eating or supplement schedule. Your doctors and pharmacists can provide personalized guidance. Be patient with yourself as you adjust to new eating patterns. Change takes time. You might need to experiment to find the schedule and food choices that work best for you. Ninth, educate your family and caregivers about these interactions. If someone else prepares your meals or helps you manage medications, they need to understand these critical timing issues. Remember that small changes can make enormous differences. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start with one change, master it, then add another. Let me leave you with this empowering thought. Parkinson's disease presents enormous challenges. Challenges you face every single day with courage and determination. But knowledge is power. Understanding how your food choices and eating schedule affect your medication gives you back a measure of control. You can't control the disease itself, but you can absolutely control these dietary factors. You can make informed choices that allow your medication to work at its full potential. You can reclaim mobility, independence, and quality of life that you thought was lost. Every single person with Parkinson's deserves to get the maximum benefit from their treatment. If this video has opened your eyes to factors that might be interfering with your medication effectiveness, I encourage you to take action today. Make one change, adjust one timing issue, eliminate one problematic food, then watch what happens over the coming days and weeks. You might be amazed at the difference it makes. If you found this information helpful and valuable, please consider subscribing to Beyond Parkinson. We're building a community of people who refuse to let Parkinson's define their lives, people who are committed to living as fully and independently as possible despite the challenges this disease brings. By subscribing, you'll receive weekly videos packed with practical, science-based strategies for managing every aspect of Parkinson's, from exercise techniques to medication optimization, from sleep solutions to emotional wellness. Click that subscribe button now and ring the notification bell so you never miss potentially life-changing information. I also want to encourage you to share this video with others in the Parkinson's community. Someone you know might be struggling with medication effectiveness issues, experiencing unpredictable off periods, or feeling frustrated that their treatment isn't working as well as it should. This information could be exactly what they need. Your comment section is open for questions, observations, and shared experiences. I read every comment, and your input directly shapes the content we create. What topics would you like to see covered in future videos? What challenges are you facing that we haven't addressed? Share your thoughts below. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Thousands of people around the world are facing the same challenges, learning the same lessons, and celebrating the same victories. Together, we can support each other, learn from each other, and help each other live better despite Parkinson's. Thank you for being part of the Beyond Parkinson community. Thank you for your courage in facing this disease every day. And thank you for taking the time to educate yourself about how to optimize your treatment. Knowledge truly is power, and you now have the knowledge to make your medication work better, to reduce off periods, to minimize side effects, and to reclaim independence you may have thought was lost forever. Take care of yourself. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate every small victory. And remember that each positive change you make adds up to significant improvements in your quality of life. I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore more strategies for living well with Parkinson's. Until then, stay strong, stay informed, and keep moving forward.